Welcome to Storytime, Kidz Klubbers. It's my privilege to be doing Storytime tonight. I always like to try and find a story in the Bible that's to do with our theme of the evening. Our theme tonight, as you know, it's the Great Kidz Klub Bake Off Week. And I've been thinking, where on earth in the Bible am I going to get a story about a bake-off? But Kidz Klubbers, I've found one. I found an incredible one. And it's about a bake-off that was provided not by a baker or a cook, but by an angel. Okay, so it's an amazing story. It's all about a guy, one of the real heroes of the Old Testament of the Bible, called Elijah. We're going to learn some interesting things about him. The story is called Run for Your Life because that's what he did, because he was dead scared. I'll tell you about that in a minute. So, guys, what we're going to do in our story time tonight, we're going back about 3,000 years. So deep, deep into the Old Testament of the Bible. This guy called Elijah. So this is quite a long time, but 850, 900 years or so before Jesus was born. Now, Elijah, who was he? He was a man who loved God with all his heart, and he served God, and he knew God really, really well. At the time, the king was called Ahab. Now, King Ahab, was a nasty piece of work. He was an evil man, and he was married to an evil wife. She was called Jezebel. They didn't love God. They hated Elijah. They hated everything he stood for and believed in. They were against him. They followed a god who was not really a god. So he's a false god. It was a false god called Baal. B-A-A-L. B-A-A-L. And this following Baal, which a lot of people were doing, was like a horrible, disgustingly evil way of life. But that's what they were seriously into. Now, Elijah had just won a fantastic victory against the followers of Baal. He had challenged them on a mountain called Mount Carmel. He challenged them to an amazing contest. He said, right, you guys, you follow Baal. Let's see who is the real God, your God, Baal, or my God, the God who made the heaven and the earth and the universe. He's the God, by the way, the God we tell you about in Kidz Klub. So they had this contest, 450 followers of Baal and Elijah. So 450 against one. Elijah said, we're going to call on the God we believe in and worship. And the God who answers by sending fire, we'll know he is the true God. So Elijah said, you go first. So for hours and hours and hours, these followers of Baal were calling on their God, and they were getting themselves into a right panic and frenzy, and nothing was happening, and it went on and on and on and on. In the end, they gave up. Elijah stood up. He called on his God. God sent fire down. It's an amazing story. I'd love to tell you more about that story. I haven't got time tonight. But he'd won this great victory. He just made the followers of Baal look like losers, really. So the problem was that this Queen Jezebel, when she heard what had happened, she made a promise. She said, I am going to kill Elijah within one day. Now, Kidz Klubbers, you would have thought, Elijah, he's got God on his side. He's seen God's power in action in that contest on the mountain. You'd have thought he's not going to be worried about this Queen Jezebel. But actually, he was terrified. It really got to him. He was so scared, he ran for his life. That's why the story tonight is called Run for Your Life. And he ran and he fled and he went from a place called Jezreel to a place called Beersheba. That's 100 miles away. And he was just so scared. He felt awful. He felt really depressed and discouraged. And he got to this place, Beersheba. He said to his servant who'd come with him, okay, I'm going to go off on my own now. So he travelled for another day and went off on his own. And in the end, he got to this tree and he sat down under this tree and he prayed a really strange prayer. He actually prayed something like this. It's in the Bible. He said, God, I've just had enough. I can't take this anymore. Just take my life. I want my life to end. I don't want to do this anymore. I just feel a failure. So there he was. He'd reached his lowest point. He was scared. He was like at rock bottom, just absolutely fed up. And he sat down under this tree, and in the end he fell asleep. Now, kids clubbers, mums and dads, when somebody gets to that point that Elijah got to, then that's the time when God just loves to step in and help them. And what God did while Elijah was sleeping, sent an angel. And this angel woke him up and said to him, Elijah, get up and have something to eat. He looked around for something to eat, and then he saw there was a brilliant bake-off that the angel had provided. And the Bible says it was a cake of bread that had been baked on over hot coals. It was delicious, and there was a jug of water as well. Amazing, in the Bible. Story about a bake-off, sorry. So he ate and he drank, and that gave him strength. And then he carried journeying. I think he was still trying to run away from Jezebel, still scared though. And he went miles and miles and miles, came to this mountain. It's called the Mountain of God in the Bible. Sometimes it's known as Horeb or Sinai. And he found a cave, and he went into this cave, and he was still trying to run away and escape, and he was still feeling rotten. And then God turned up. And God didn't say to him, Elijah, you wimp, running away from this Queen Jezebel. What can she do to you? Actually, she could do a lot. She was a very powerful woman. And God didn't condemn him. He didn't tell him off. What God did for him was give him an amazing experience of his power. And there was a mighty strong wind. There was an earthquake. There was fire. It was really, really scary. There were like rocks splitting and being thrown around. There was fire burning things. And that must have been terrifying as well. And then there was a gentle, still, small voice like a whisper, and it was God talking. God didn't talk through the wind or the earthquake or the fire. He spoke in a whisper, and he said to Elijah, what are you doing here? Didn't tell him off. Just said, what are you doing? In other words, why are you hundreds of miles away from where you should be? And then God lovingly told him what to do, to go back, to carry on where he'd left off, following God, obeying God, standing for God. And he showed him exactly what he had to do. Now, kids clubbers, that's an amazing story. Isn't it fantastic that when Elijah had reached rock bottom and it was all going so wrong and he was scared of Jezebel and he was running away, he just wanted to die? That's when God stepped in. Now, Kids Club, I don't know whether you ever get to like a really low point in life. Mums and dads, maybe you're going through a tough time, or you've been through a tough time. You're at a low point, quite a dark place at the moment, and it all seems to be going wrong. Nothing seems to be going right. And you're thinking, is there any way out of this? I'm not enjoying this. Maybe lockdown has been like a really big pressure for you and it hasn't worked out well. It's been full of difficulties. That's the sort of moment. That's where Elijah was, when God can just step in and help you. And our Bible bit tonight, as we've just heard, is cast all your anxiety, that's like your worry, your cares, cast all that on him, on God, on Jesus, because he cares for you. What a fantastic invitation that is. And that's what Elijah did. And that's what God invites you to do. If you're going through like Elijah-like experience and you're feeling down and you just want to run away and it's just awful, things are rotten, then here's the invitation from God. He says, cast all your worries, cares, problems, troubles onto me. Just give them to me. Dump them on me. That's an invitation from God. That's a fantastic invitation. Why would God ask us to do that, invite us to do that? Simple, because he cares for us, because he loves us so much. So Kids Clubbers, mums and dads, if you're going through this sort of Elijah-like experience, that's the invitation that you can respond to. Say, God, please help me. Come to me and help me like you helped Elijah. And the reason God would love to do that is because he cares for you and he loves you. Thank you for listening, guys. Thank you for watching. See you soon. Bye for now.